In a previous class, we already saw how to track emissions while we are doing purchases. And so if I go to my ESG app, now I can see in my carbon footprint report, I can see that we have, so I'm just going to collapse that. So I have direct, we have mobile combustion. This mobile combustion is due to employee commuting. I have just updated this. If I click on the link, you can see we have commuting for 17th to 17th, 18th to 24th, and 24th to 3rd March. We also have emissions for scope 3. This came from two categories, essentially when one of our employees traveled to Warsaw. And I'd just like to correct one of my previous videos. We were tracking both flights. So the emissions here, 1.01, are emissions from both flights. I'll go to the purchase of materials, that's achat de biens, and I can see that I was buying metal and other metallic products. You can see there was this type, and there was also aluminum. Now today, let's try to track some scope 1 emissions. So how I'll go about that, I'll go to configurations, and I can go to emission sources. And of course here you can filter by scope. And when you filter by scope, you have 613 type of emissions, 14 for scope 2, and scope 3 you have 289. So in scope 1 you have stationary combustion, mobile combustion, process emissions, fugitive emissions, etc. Now I just want to track some process emissions. For me it will be the welding of a bicycle frame. Now once you weld, every time you weld, there are emissions that are going to be there. And these emissions could either be in the databases, that's the emission databases, or if they're not there, we can add them manually. So I'll go to bar configurations and I'll go to emission factors. Let me just do a wild guess and see if I can find welding. I can't. So I can just create new based on information that's available from different literature. And I can say welding of bicycle frame. And I can put emissions here just directly, or I can just go gas by gas. So I can say how much of CO2 is emitted, how much of methane is emitted, select the activity type, the amount, and the equivalent kgs of CO2 that are emitted. Or I can, so that's one way of doing it. You can add gas by gas, or you can just add a total of gases. So here I can say, for example, because it's just a test, let's say we are emitting 1.35 kg every time of 1.35 kg of CO2 every time we are welding one frame. Can select the source and say it's from process emissions. And then I can select the company as Odoo ESG, and I can say it's valid from 1st of February. Uncertainty, again, because you're getting it from various sources, it can be give or take. I can say 15, but it depends. But it can get higher than that or lower than that. I want to compute by physical quantity, and I want to track it by bicycle. So basically, every time I weld one bicycle frame, these are the emissions I'm getting. And then I'll go to assignations. I'm just going to save that. Go to assignations, and I'm going to select an account as every time I'm selling a bike. So this will be cost of sales. I want you to always record that there are 1.35 kgs of CO2 that actually went into making that bicycle. Let's select the bicycle. That's a road bike. And I'm going to save. Now, let's go to the process of making the bicycle. I'll go to the most excellent manufacturing app. And what do you see right here? You see work center. This work center is called a welding station. So ideally how it would look like on a shop floor, it will be, you'd have different stations. You'd have stations for fitting, stations for cutting, stations for welding, and all that. Because it's a demo, we're just going to use one work center, and that is going to be my welding station. To see its configuration, I'll just go to configuration right here, and work center, and then welding station. So that's the name, and everything has been set up. This is going to be covered in a in a future video. The most important part is how much does it cost per hour per work center. So that has already been configured. The other thing you can configure in this application is the bill of materials. Bill of materials basically is the recipe that goes into making the final product. In this case, it's the bicycle. So if I go to products, go to bill of materials, and there's a road bike. To make one road bike, I require component 1, component 2, component 3, and there are also operations that go into making it. So I can just add an operation, and I can say welding. So we want to do some welding, we want to select the welding station, and we want to base it on, we can base it on actual time or theoretical time, again to be covered in a future discussion. How long does it take to weld one bicycle frame? I'll put 30 minutes. Remember, from what I've just shown you in the work center, we can track the cost per work center per hour. So you'll see how this comes into play. So I want to create a manufacturing order for a bicycle, or let's make 50 bicycles. So I'll go to operations and then manufacturing order. I'll go to new, select the product, which is a road bike, and there we have it, folks. So to make one bicycle, I'll need these components, and there is a work order which is going to be at the welding station. So to make one bicycle, the expected duration is 30 minutes. I don't want to make one, I want to make 50, so the components are going to change accordingly. Okay, so I'm just going to confirm it, and now once work starts, I want time to be recorded, actual time that was actually spent in coming up with the 50 bicycles. So I can just click right here and put the correct duration. So what is the expected duration when we're making 50 bicycles? It is 1500 hours, 1500 minutes. So I'll go to the employee. So this is my manufacturing guru, and I'm going to select the duration that was taken in welding, and this was fully productive time. Going to save and save. And that's the expected duration matches the real duration, which is not the case. It does not work like that. So, but this is just an example. So I'm going to produce all 50 bicycles. And if I go to overview, just want to see, so how much does it cost me to make a bicycle? This road bike costs 8250, but how did we arrive at 8250? I had component 1 costs 1500, component 2 each costing 2500, component 3 each costing 1750. But there's also operations that went into it. Remember, we have spent 1500 minutes, but how much does it cost per hour? 5000. So we have taken a total of 25 hours times 5000, so the total cost for making the bicycles was 125,000. So the cost that went into this bicycle was the component cost plus production cost. So the cost for this bicycle is 8250. I hope you remember that. Now I want to sell this bicycle and see how it affects my ESG reporting. I'll go to sales, and I'm going to sell a bicycle to my customer. I'm going to create a new customer called customer, and I'm going to select the bicycles. So these are the road bikes, and I can see that they are available. I can select all 50, and I want to sell them at, I want to make a profit, so let's say I'm going to sell them at 25,000, sorry. So that's right. I'm going to save that. I'm going to confirm it, and it becomes a sale order. Now this is not a sales presentation, but you'll see how it makes sense. I want to go to create invoice. They have to pay before I deliver, and this is a crucial part. Or let me do it the other way. let's deliver, and then they'll pay. So we want to validate all 50 bicycles have been delivered. I'll go back to the sales order, create the invoice. It's a regular invoice. They pay all the whole amount. And what I want to check is what accounts are we hitting. So I can see that the accounts being hit, and I can just confirm it. All right, so yes, so once confirmed, now I notice that if I go to my journal items, I can see there is a cost of sales, and this is what we had linked, we had assigned to our emission factor previously. So I can see that this account is being hit as well. So that has already been that invoice has already been confirmed. You're going to receive the payment later. So if I just go out of sales, and now if I go to the ESG report, I'll go to measure, carbon footprint, and now you can see that there's a new category. It's called process emissions, and these process emissions come from welding of bicycle frame. And that's it, folks. That's how you can track process 1 emissions. Every time you're building a bicycle, and if you have processes like welding, cutting, and every other mechanical process, there are bound to be emissions. How do you track those emissions? Ensure that the cost of these emissions goes into the cost of the bicycle. And once you sell them, and if you assign the account to the emission factors, every time we sell the bicycles, we are going to record the emissions that went into producing that bicycle. I hope this has been useful. It may be quite heavy, especially if you're not used to the applications I have moved into. I went from inventory, went to ESG, sales, and accounting. But I hope it has been clear. I'll see you in the next one. Au revoir et à très bientôt.